Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
So Dana, you've watched Martha Stewart twice. I've only watched it once. I'm going to go back and watch it again. But what were some of your ahas from watching it? What jumped out at you?
I just loved her even more.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. She's so smart. And they said this on the documentary. She was really like the first influencer. I mean, she really was. She was an influencer before influencing was a thing.
Yeah,
And
when influencing was hard.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she just got it. And I just loved how she, I don't know. I think I like how she wanted everything to be, if she was going to do it, it was going to be done right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was going to do it the right way. And she had high standards, big time.
Yep.
It was definitely one of the things I picked up on. This was one of those documentaries. Actually, I was thinking of the last one. It was years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, when the Garth Brooks documentary came out, and I took 4 pages of notes probably. This was one of those where I was like, I can write this down. This is so good. And, I just thought too, she didn't really, she worried about a little bit how she was going to be perceived, but she didn't let it stop her from anything.
Yeah.
I mean, going into some of those where it was all men driven businesses and just all the stuff that she went through a lot. And she just persevered. And it reminded me of what we look like in what we look for when we do the life story with people in career visioning. You want to see if they failed, that they got back up, or that I just thought she just did time and time and time, and big fails, prison time, and still came back and now is, it just was wild.
Yeah, it was. I honestly, the resilience that she has really stood out to me. One of the things I noticed about her, she did say some kind of dumb things that
she did say some
validated her being hard on people. But I hate that, because guess what? If the guy was exactly the same way, it would have been totally fine. So I feel like she got a little bit of a raw deal on that. I think anybody who has a great business like that, they have to kind of be a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And have a high standard. So I think that was a little bit unfair. But what I loved is, did you notice how every time she was in an interview and they would start to try to catch her in something or say something, she didn't respond to those things. She had this beautiful pause that was, and this smile that she just did that was so amazing.
Yeah.
And I thought, geez, that's brilliant, because so many times, almost every interview or everything, someone kind of took a jab at her.
Mm-hmm.
But she just kind of grinned and smiled and just kind of paused. And I
noticed that when I think it was Barbara Walters that was asking her about going to prison, and she said, well, I haven't really thought about it that much or something. And Barbara Walters said, oh, well, what about being strip searched and something else? And she said, oh, they don't really do that, do they? And Barbara said, yeah, they do it. And she just kind of said, okay. I mean, she just didn't, just what you're saying. She really didn't respond.
She didn't let it trigger her. I love that. I thought that was very good composure.
It was. Yeah.
And she had it consistently throughout. The other thing I loved is she believed so much in the profession that she had picked, that she saw the potential even when nobody else did. Yeah. And I thought, and do you remember the part where it showed her in the middle and all the things around, like a Disney, like her universe? Disney? Yeah. I thought that was pretty darn cool. Anyway, it was awesome. So I'm going to go back and watch it.
People gave her crap for that, thinking that she was the center of the universe. And I thought, why in the world? Because Walt Disney did the same exact thing, and people have it framed on the wall in here. People have the Disney map framed everywhere. But I thought, good for her for having such a big vision. I mean, that was a huge vision that she had.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so you and I have been really busy. I was at Millionaire Office Systems last week. I was at Career Visioning with Mark Willis, and then I was at Quantum Leap with Gary Keller. So I have lots more notes, but I picked out a few for us today. And then what were you at last week?
I was at the Future of Real Estate Operator Brokerage Mastermind in Miami. And it was great. We had Dr. Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist of NAR, there. And so I got some really good things from him, and really talking a lot about just where the future of the brokerage is going. So that was really great too.
What did they say? What is Cliff Note version of what they said?
Cliff Note version is that as far as Cliff Note version is homeownership management is just continuing to be a big deal. Almost kind of like what we just interviewed Amy Stockberger on, getting to bring value to the consumers and figuring out a way to be involved in the entire home ownership process is 100% the way of the future. They just said, ask yourself the question, what do I as a homeowner typically need, and what would I want? And then figuring out with others how you can collaborate and go after that. They asked us a really great question. How can I build a business that isn't a once in a decade transaction? And we did a lot of masterminding around that, which is basically that. I mean, not just someone buying a home from you once a decade. It's how do you actually become a part of everything that has to do with their home ownership. And I think just really thinking in the future of how our industry is continuing to change. And, you know, there are some agents, Linda, that I talk to, and I have some in my offices and in other offices that are like, there's no changes. We aren't feeling anything. You know, everything's like business as usual. And before I thought, okay, well, that's kind of fine. But now I'm thinking it's kind of not fine, because we've got to be continuing to figure out what that, it's like skating to where the puck is going, or whatever that quote is.
Yeah.
Because things are changing, and there are agents that are taking more market share because they are focusing on and doing those things. And it does worry me a little bit on some of the ones that, you know, aren't, or they're not feeling like that. But that was a big thing. A lot. I got so much from the economist of NAR, from Lawrence Yoon. Biggest things are basically 2023 and 2024 are the worst home. We're at the identical home sales that we were in 1995. I mean, this is the worst that it's been in years. Years and years and years. But some agents aren't feeling that because volume is still high. Mm-hmm. So at transaction count, actual homes sold, I mean, we're going to do the same as what we did in 1995. So he said, we're back 30 years ago. Today, we are where we are 30 years ago. And in this year, Q1, Q2, Q3 showed no recovery. And so he said 2 years of very tough home sales in our country. He called them bummer years. And really that's what they are. But he said that next year predictions are a little bit better, regardless of, by the way, tomorrow is election day, which is just crazy. But regardless of really who wins, he said tomorrow a little bit better, but he really starts to believe they're predicting 2026, 2027 will be when we'll start to see numbers back closer to 2019 numbers. And he said that that's just sheer supply and demand. Like he went over and talked about the slides of all the pent up sellers that there are. And he said at some point, like they're going to have to sell. I mean, they've either had a death, they've had a divorce, they've had a baby, they've got married, they're downsizing. I can't remember. They moved. They have 25 million job switches occur every single year in our country. And so he just said that because of demand and because these figures happen in an average year, there are plenty of people that are going to need to sell, and that they won't be able to wait. So he said, he really feels like next year, a little bit better, but bank on 26, 27 being closer to 2019. But he said the good news, hopefully, is that last year and this year, 2023 and 24 are just like bottom of the barrel worst that we're going to have in home sales. Yeah. Which was encouraging. I mean, I feel like saying, woohoo, we're through it. Like, you made it. Congratulations.
Yeah. Tell you what we're noticing in the rental market, we had 11 vacancies. We're getting most of, I think we're down to about 3 of them, but that was the first time in many, many years that we'd had that many vacancies. And for the first time, we're getting a lot more insufficient checks. Yeah. So that the economy people are starting to feel the economy. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
So when they
talked about the rental market, I was actually trying to find the slides because I'm trying to remember what he said about the rental market. Oh shoot. Well, that's not it, but I'll find it. But he did say, and Gary has said this for so long, in order to build wealth in America, you have to be a property owner. He actually said he gave in 2024, the closing estimate is going to be net worth, the average, no, I'm sorry, the wealth comparison between owners and renters this year is going to end up renters having about $10,000 as a median net worth, compared to homeowners is about almost $500,000, 415,000 by the end of this year. So he just said the people who are renting, which you heard Gary say it more directly, fool is the person who doesn't buy real estate during these times, I think is what Gary says.
And, I think it was Jason or somebody that said that at the class I was at last week, only 8% of realtors actually own investment properties. I thought it'd be higher than that by now. I mean, we've been singing that to the rooftops for years.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Here's what he said. He said, upcoming rent growth should be calmer. Upcoming consumer inflation should be calmer. He said, but further pivot could limit by budget deficits. Future rent in 2 to 3 years could accelerate because right now no apartment buildings are being built. He said we aren't building as many apartment buildings across the country as we should be. And so that will somehow affect the rental market. I have to go back and read my notes.
Well, it'll affect it because they'll have to look for single family houses to live in instead of apartments.
That's right. Yeah. He said we're way behind in the number of apartment buildings that should be being built right now.
Wow. That's amazing. So when they talked about, is this the same person that talked about being there, like what Amy talked about on our podcast, the lifelong, how do they see an office doing that?
Well, from being, let's see, let me go to my notes from that. That wasn't him. That was 2 other people. Okay. Let's see, consumer experience. Here it is. Yeah, homeownership is a series of ongoing transactions. So he sees a brokerage doing that by providing ways to take care of their home, giving them money to save on repairs, and helping them build wealth, that then they do it through the agents. So we had people show us like portals, almost like when you go to the doctor, you have a patient portal. Basically, yeah. Brokerage is having portals, which some of them already do, quite frankly. Whereas a consumer can log into their portal and see home finance, management, services, design, home improvements. They could search, they could see inventory, they can, do all of those things. So basically, brokerages are going to have to either build their own or attach to some sort of portal where they can provide the consumers with the ultimate full experience. And they talked a lot about like first order thinking versus second order thinking. I'm trying to find my notes on that. But basically figuring out a way to make it easy for our agents to continue to provide those ongoing homeownership services to the agents. And kind of like what Amy talked about, where when you can do it on a brokerage level and then the agents subscribe to that or to be able to use that, then you've just locked them in for life. I mean, otherwise, because right now, and I was just talking to my neighbor about this, or a lady that lives in my neighborhood, she's a realtor also, but it seems like the loyalty is not there like it used to be. I mean, they'll just go with anybody that says, hey, I saw this house you should look at, or, hey, I mean, it's just.
I think loyalty is way down, period. I think it's down with the agents.
Yeah.
Has been for years, maybe it's just part of, I don't know, human nature or something. You kind of got to just expect it. I don't know. It's always shocking to me. That's why I like the documentary of the basketball player that was it with Milwaukee?
I didn't see that.
Oh gosh, you didn't see it. I sent it to you.
Which one was it?
He's the guy that came over. He was from South Africa and he moved to Greece. And then they discovered him, Giovanni or whatever. I never say his name right.
Oh man, maybe I missed that one. I don't remember watching that.
Oh, it was so good. I'll have to find it to you and send it to you. But what I love about him is he's gotten so many offers to go somewhere else, but he's so appreciative and loyal because his family was so broke that basketball just saved him and his family. But he's been so loyal to his team, and he's gotten so many offers to leave. And I thought, there's only such a small percentage of people who would stay committed and loyal like that all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I think it's just such a rare thing. It made me want to start checking for it in my career visioning. How do you check for loyalty? How do you check for someone who doesn't, go chase the next shiny thing or whatever, or forgets all the
Go ahead
all,
and
all the things that you did and moves on to whatever's next. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to share a couple, since we're on career visioning. I wrote down just a bunch of quotes that really struck me. Most people spend their time trying to not do what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, isn't that so true?
So true. Yeah.
Or they try to come up with new ways. Instead of following a model and a system that's already been proven to work, they spend all their time and energy trying to come up with a new way rather than follow a model and system that's already proven.
Yeah.
You don't create bell cows, you find them.
Ooh, that's good.
So good.
Yeah, that's so true.
Then, and I don't remember which class these are from. I just wrote them all down. I think this one was from the $1 Million Office. Do you want a job or a business?
Mm-hmm.
I got the platform. I just need the talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the moment of commitment, the universe conspires to help you.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard him say that before.
Yeah.
Gary. Yeah.
And you want to say, I'm glad I did, not I wish I had.
Oh yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh.
People that lived before you, you might want to find out what they did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, this one was, it's so funny because I've heard I've been to Quantum Leap so many times and I've taught it so many times, but it's funny how when you're at a different place, you can actually hear something for the first time.
Yeah.
This one, he said, you live long enough, everything bad will happen to you. And what I got from that was, why are we always shocked when something bad happens? Why do we keep being shocked? Right?
It's true.
Saying, oh, okay. That's one of them that I've lived long enough to experience.
Yeah.
How to think best way possible is teach your brain what to think and come up with what you want, and basically come up with what you want to believe and tell it till it becomes truth. So keep telling it whatever it is you want it to believe. You keep saying it over and over and over again. How many habits have you purposefully put into your life for your best life possible? Quantum leap is kind of the difference of having a sense of who you are and waking up every day and being that person. When you're clear about who you are, the world organizes itself to help you be that person.
So true.
Lead a purposeful life around the things that really matter. Intelligent is not a prerequisite to success or happiness. Focus is.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very good.
That one hurts.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting because he said something I'd never really heard him say before. He said, what do you, if you ask people what is the meaning of life? He said, most people could not answer that. And I thought, well, I better sit down and think about it myself in case he asks me. But think about it. We go through this thing called life, but do we ever sit down and decide what the meaning of it is or what meaning we want it to have? I thought, I don't even think we do that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we just kind of live it kind of by default.
Yeah, it's so true. I think 100% most people do. We actually are just talking about that right now in our Bible study, which, if you're a person of faith, then I guess your meaning of life is different, but, or could be different, but you just live it so fast and so much.
You know how Gary talks about you're a spiritual being, have physical experience. Do you ever kind of go, what the hell does he mean by that?
Yes, and it kind of freaks me out sometimes when I really think about it a little bit.
Okay, well, I've been, I don't know how many times, and it's always one of those things like, what does he even mean by that? Well, here's what he means. He means what I think becoming is. You're here to become all that you can become. And the only way you're going to become is to get out there and try as many things as you possibly can.
Yep.
Because every lesson you get changes you spiritually, who you are.
Totally true. Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, I think that is exactly what it means. And if we think we're a physical being, I don't think we're as willing to go out there and try as much and see what we learn from it and how we change when we don't succeed at something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I mean, our bodies are a shell. Our physical bodies are a shell. I mean, that's always the weird part when you see somebody pass away and you go to their funeral. You're like, wait a minute, but there they are, but their spirit's not there anymore, right? I mean, their spirit's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always think about that whenever I've heard him teach that or talk about that. But I love that because we are all here to become. So that's a great way to look at that.
So I'm going to put this in our class on Thursday that we're doing on building $1 million team. When you're a great succeeder, you don't get to stretch your leadership muscle.
Okay, wait, say that again.
When you're a great succeeder, in other words, think about most mega agents who are trying to succeed through other people.
Yep.
They're great at succeeding themselves.
Always.
So when you're a great succeeder, you don't get to stretch your leadership muscle.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Did Gary say that?
Yep. I don't know if it's Gary, Mark, or who. Somebody said it.
That's so good.
I'm going to use it in our team class because I think that's so much of, as top producers, a hard habit to get out of.
Yep. Well, and you know what? I mean, when you're succeeding all the time, I don't know. I mean, when you fail, and as bad as it sucks, when you have the hard days and the challenges and the opportunities, I mean, that's really when you're stretched, especially in your leadership of other people. So that's spot on.
Yeah. And it's so much easier just to keep doing what comes natural. I mean, I had so many ahas. I mean, I really, and it's so funny because you know how John Maxwell always says to sit in your thinking chair and reflect?
Yeah.
Well, I was really struggling. And I thought, this morning, I'm just going to take a minute. I'm not going to rush out the door. I'm going to sit and think for a minute. I'm going to talk this through. And I got the best idea for a situation I had. I'll talk about it later when we get it all put together. But I'm like, thank you, God. If I just will be still and be quiet, you'll help me solve any issue that I have.
Yeah.
And it was really bugging me because I'm like, okay, I know we're headed down this one path, but it doesn't feel like it's the right path. But how do I change it? How do I make it better? And I'm sitting there and out of my mouth comes the answer. Jimmy looks at me and he's like, that is freaking brilliant. And I'm like, I know, I was finally still, and that's so hard for me to do. Yeah. I just sat with my issue and just sat and thought about it and talked about it a little bit. And it just popped out. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, God. Because I don't know where that came from.
But I love, what happened was, this reminds me exactly. And this is going to be one of my big mantras for next year. But, what is the quote? Oh crap. I'm blanking on it, but it's like, the devil doesn't need to do something. He just needs to distract you.
Oh, so true.
And that's so, I can't think of what it's called, but I'll look it up. But it's something like that. But it's so true. It's like he just tries to distract us, to take us off of the things. Yeah, it's just, and so because we don't ever do what you just did, which was just think and be still.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things Gary hit on this time was how our best things come to us when we're refreshing, not when we're busy and active. And when we're taking the time to refresh and to just think. And he talked a lot about his thinking time and him taking time to just think. And I think two things. One, we've got to learn to be okay with silence, either with ourselves or with other people.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think Martha did. She let silence do the heavy lifting in that. She didn't immediately think she had to respond because anything she would have said after that would have probably gotten her in trouble. But because she just smiled and let silence fill that space, it was like perfect. One of the things that somebody said in career visioning, I think it was Mark, and I wrote it down, why are you even talking? And I think there's a couple of habits that are really, really hard to ingrain, but the better you get at them, one of them is asking great questions. What is a question I can ask? Because the way I say things when I'm not asking questions usually gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
And then what where's my space to do thinking, and how can I let more silence in between all the gaps?
So good.
But I don't know. It's so funny. I really didn't know how much I'd get out of Quantum Leap because I've been so many times. But and I have more pages of notes everywhere from it. It's like I felt like I came to the class a different person.
Yeah.
And because of that, I really heard things at a deeper level than I actually heard them ever before. Oh, one thing he said here, I'll finish with this one, is under your personal productivity, the first thing you have to do is choose a profession, and then say, I'm going to maximize it, whatever that profession is. And then, so that's kind of the goal. So it was 5 things: goal, plan, 411, time block, and accountability. And he said the 2 most important are always the first and the last. So what's your goal? My goal is to be the best I can be at this profession. And then number 5 is, where are you going to find the accountability?
Love that.
He said those 2 are the most important.
Yep, love that. That's so true, though, because if you don't have the goal, you don't know where you're going. And if you don't have accountability, then why are you going to do it? Because we'll let ourselves down every day of the week.
Yeah, and remember Chris, the Chris guy I met from Pursuit of Happiness, he said, dreams and goals are cheap. The plans have a price.
Yeah.
Most people are not willing to do the price without accountability.
Yep.
I love hearing so many things from so many different people and connecting the dots, how it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But a different way.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Okay. I just found the quote. It's Craig Groeschel. Of course it is, because he's just the smartest ever. The devil doesn't need to destroy you if he can only just distract you.
Yes. So true.
So true.
I love it.
True. Such good stuff. I'm going to Austin the first week of December to Gary's Leadership Academy. So I'm pumped because I don't think I've heard Gary in several months, and I can't wait.
Well, if you haven't gone to the Millionaire office, you got to go. So good.
Yeah.
If you haven't been to Mark Willis's career visioning, you got to go. He's the best at it.
Yeah.
Then I've
been to his career visioning, and it was incredible.
When did you go to it?
I went to, well, not the full day. I did his it was like a 3 or 4 hour session at family reunion, whenever it was that it was the longer version at family reunion. And it was, I took so many notes, like pages and pages and pages.
Yeah, I love it. I think he's used it as such a tool to make a big life. And I think he kind of lives it at the highest level for all of us to realize what a great tool and opportunity the class is and how we can use it too.
Yeah. So good.
So good.
Stuff. I love to do this stuff at the end of the year too, because it just gets your brain going. Like I'm doing our retreats next week, and business planning clinics. And it's just good to just get you ready for the new year.
So speaking of that, we're going to have to pull out our goals from last year, and we're going to have to write some new ones for next year. Uh-oh.
I know we need to start working on that too. I've been glancing at my vision board too, like what else do I have that I can get done by the end of the year?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. On Thursday, we're doing our first millionaire team class, and I've got a couple of friends from other places flying in, and I can't wait to kind of hear what are we missing to help people succeed through people.
Is it in person or online? I can't remember.
It's in person. We're going to do it in person. We'll eventually make it online, but we've got some people that have been using the system that we platform we have for hiring. And then we've also got just a bunch of people who are trying to succeed through people. And I can't wait to learn what are we missing? Where's their pain? And try to make sure we just keep making it better. So we're just doing a real test run with not even the full class, just as much as we can get in from 9 to 4 in a day. So I'll have some good.
I've got some people that are going to be in the room, and they're so excited to be there.
Yep, I can't wait. So, all right, well, Dana, I guess I'll see you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. I will see you then.
If you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anyone that you think that would enjoy these conversations. If you have a guest, a challenge, an opportunity, or a question that you'd like for us to go over on the podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everythinglifeandrealestate. So Dana, I'm going to go back and watch Martha Stewart one more time, and I'm sure I'll have more ahas.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.